The Fever re-signed our good, close personal friend, Sophie Cunningham, to a 1-year contract. Let's go.
It was close. It was close.
Can I be nosy right off the jump? Given the changes in structure and money and all of that over the last few weeks, like, was the contract better than you thought it would?
Look at that face.
That face right there tells you everything you need to know about the new CBA reality. Sophie Cunningham just got asked if her contract was better than expected, and her response wasn't just disappointing, it was revealing. Because while the WNBA is celebrating record-breaking deals and million-dollar contracts, not everyone's cashing in. And the players who thought they'd ride this wave, they're finding out real quick that the new money isn't distributed equally. Sophie signed a 1-year deal with Indiana. Just 1 year. After everything she brought to that team, after the Fever's historic season with Caitlin Clark, after the ratings explosion and sold-out arenas, she got a 1-year contract that left her visibly frustrated. So we need to ask the obvious question. If the league just secured a massive new media deal, why are proven veterans like Sophie Cunningham still feeling undervalued?
She thought she was going to get more. She got 600-some thousand. Lexi got more than her. It's a lot of people that got more than her. We seen people get $1 million deals that pretty much had the same production as her. So she wasn't happy with what she got.
Is in structure and money and all of that over the last few weeks, like, was the contract better than you thought it would? Nope. Okay, sorry.
Nope. It's okay. I think
Sorry.
no, it's fine, because it's tough because I came off an injury and I haven't been in front of any teams. Like,
$600,000. That's what Sophie got. Now on paper, that sounds like solid money, and it is compared to the old CBA. But here's the context that matters. Lexi Hull got more than her. Players with similar production stats got 7-figure deals. The market just shifted dramatically, and Sophie's sitting there watching teammates and competitors sign contracts that dwarf hers. The injury excuse is interesting, isn't it? Teams suddenly got cautious about her ACL recovery, even though she was medically cleared, even though the doctors signed off, even though she had all the documentation proving she was healthy. But if you don't get in front of these general managers, if you can't work out for them personally, they start inventing reasons to lowball you. And that's exactly what happened here. Think about the timing. The Fever just came off their most successful season in years. They sold out arenas. They generated millions in revenue directly tied to their playoff run. Sophie Cunningham was part of that core rotation. She hit clutch threes. She played defense. She brought veteran leadership to a young team. And her reward? A 1-year prove-it deal at a number that disappointed her enough to say it out loud on a podcast.
I just want to win. Like, I just want to win.
Yeah, but Sophie, it's a lot of money on the line. Everybody, you may have been honest if you were still hurt. Everybody wasn't going to be completely honest, okay? We seen DeWanna Carrington got traded, got a deal. She's getting searched. She's not even ready. It's a lot, and not saying that she did not let them know, because from my information that I have, the Chicago Sky knew about DeWanna's injury, but my point is, there are people out there who would have said, I'm good, knowing they wasn't, just so they could collect the bag. So you can't really knock the owners for that. But before I finish playing it.
Now listen to what she's really saying here. She's talking about honesty, about being transparent with teams regarding her health, and she's right to bring that up, because we've seen the opposite play out this offseason. DeWanna Carrington got traded to Chicago with an injury that wasn't fully disclosed until after the deal. Teams are operating in an environment where trust is scarce and everyone's protecting their own interests. But here's where Sophie's situation gets complicated. She says she would have been honest if she wasn't feeling good, that she's at a point in her career where winning matters more than ego. That's admirable. That's the kind of veteran mentality teams claim they want. But the league doesn't actually reward that kind of honesty. It punishes it. If Sophie had admitted any hesitation about her knee, any lingering concern, she wouldn't have gotten $600,000. She might not have gotten a contract at all. Look at Natasha Cloud's situation right now, sitting at home, phone silent, no offers. She's a former All-Star who just a few years ago was considered one of the league's premier point guards, and she can't get a team to call her back. That's the reality Sophie's competing against. So when she talks about being grateful, about not wanting to be like Natasha, that's not shade, that's survival instinct. She knows how quickly this league will forget about you.
I think it kind of lit a fire under my ass even more. At the end of the day, like, I'm coming back from a major, it was MCL. Like,
Totally.
You know what I mean? And so,
Totally.
I feel good. I'm shooting the ball well. I'm mentally in a great spot.
All right, so that was Sophie on her situation in terms of her health and the contract situation. She wanted more, guys. She wanted more. Now, let's take a listen as she addressed, a couple things. Caitlin Clark, Raven Johnson, and then we are going to get to what DeWanna Bonner had to say about this dating situation within the WNBA.
The wake-up call comment is crucial. Sophie's treating this like motivation, like fuel to prove everyone wrong next season. And maybe that works. Maybe she comes out firing, puts up career numbers, and gets the bag next offseason. But there's another interpretation here that's darker and probably more accurate. This is Indiana telling her, you're replaceable. They brought in Raven Johnson through the draft. They've got Caitlin Clark locked in. They retained Kelsey Mitchell on a one-year deal too, which tells you everything about how the front office views veteran contracts right now. They're not committing long-term to anyone except their franchise cornerstone. Everyone else is year to year, prove your worth, we'll see how it goes. And Sophie can talk about wanting to win, about team-first mentality, about putting ego aside, but at the end of the day, she's a professional athlete with a limited earning window. She's 27 years old. She's coming off a major knee injury. She's got maybe 3 or 4 more years of prime basketball left. And the Fever just told her they're not willing to bet on those years. That's not a wake-up call. That's a warning.
I know a big name was Raven Johnson. She was with South Carolina. And sometimes for me, I'm just not really good at knowing like if people's game are like if it's going to translate well in the W, you know?
Yeah.
Like, sometimes,
I think that's fascinating for all sports. Like
yeah.
Some people are better in college, some people are better professionally, and like you just don't know when. Sometimes it works better, like
kind of transition
layer to sports.
Yes, and some people you get the green light right away, and you just get to go and do your thing. I mean, I had Taurasi, and so it took me like 3 or 4 years. You know what I mean? And so like sometimes it tests your character, your perseverance, it tests everything. Sport tests everything. But Raven Johnson is a freaking dog. We had our first day of training camp, and I just like love her. Like I think she's going to be fantastic, great defensive player, just a really sweet girl and a great teammate so far. So like I'm a big.
Now we shift to Raven Johnson, and this is where it gets interesting for Indiana's chemistry. Sophie's praising her, calling her a dog, talking about how sweet she is, how great the team vibe is after the first day of training camp, all the right things to say publicly. But let's be real about what's happening here. Raven Johnson is a defensive specialist who's going to take minutes from somebody. She's not coming off the bench to sit and watch. She was the 5th overall pick. She's Dawn Staley's protege from South Carolina. The Fever drafted her for a reason, and that reason is they think she can contribute immediately in their rotation. So whose minutes does she take? Sophie plays the 2 and the 3. Raven plays the 1 and the 2. There's overlap there. And if Raven comes in and proves she can defend at an elite level right away, which is her calling card, then suddenly Sophie's looking at reduced playing time on top of her reduced salary. That's the business reality underneath all the great teammate talk. The comment about not knowing if college production translates to the WNBA is telling too. Sophie's been in this league long enough to see first-round picks flame out. She's seen hyped rookies struggle with the speed and physicality. She knows that college success doesn't guarantee professional success, but she also knows that organizations fall in love with potential, with youth, with the shiny new toy. And right now, Raven Johnson is that shiny new toy.
Fan.
When a rookie comes in, do you like when a rookie is outspoken and
especially people to be themselves? So I think when you come into a new team, especially like, you know, the jump from high school to college is completely different. College to pros is also completely different. And so as a rookie, depending on like kind of who you are and what you bring to the table, it's best to be a sponge. But like if you're vocal, still be vocal, you know, but also I think it's best also to like stay in your lane, like stay, like do what you do best. And if that's like defense and freaking assist, then go all in on that. You know what I mean? Like don't be anything that you're not. And it's nerve-wracking as a rookie. Training camp is nerve-wracking, and our rookies have done really well. And so I think we have kind of like a unique group, but today was like actually very surprising. Like it's gonna be good.
like in a positive way?
Yeah, like it's just like
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, like I want to guess putting the people we put together. Like we're gonna be fast. We're gonna be able to shoot the ball. Like We're going to be able to defend. Like, it's going to be good.
The rookie advice segment reveals the political tightrope veterans have to walk. Sophie's talking about staying in your lane, being a sponge, not being anything you're not. Standard veteran wisdom. But embedded in that advice is a warning. Know your role and don't step out of it. Think about what she's really communicating to Raven here. Do what you do best, defense and assists. Don't try to be a scorer. Don't try to take shots away from Caitlyn. Don't disrupt the hierarchy we've established. That's not mentorship, that's boundary setting. And it makes sense from Sophie's perspective, because the last thing she needs is a rookie coming in trying to prove she deserves more touches, more opportunities, more of the spotlight. The unique group comment is interesting too. Sophie's saying the team chemistry is good, that everyone's healthy, that training camp went well, but we've heard this before. Every team says this in April. Everyone's optimistic when the season hasn't started yet. The real test comes in July when they're 15 games in, someone's in a shooting slump, rotations are getting shortened, and the playoff race is tight. That's when you find out if your chemistry is real or just preseason propaganda. And here's the thing about the Fever's roster construction. They've got a lot of players who need the ball. Caitlin Clark is going to have the ball in her hands 30 possessions a game. Kelsey Mitchell needs her shots to be effective. Aaliyah Boston needs post touches. Where does that leave Sophie? Where does that leave Raven? Someone's going to be frustrated with their role by mid-season, and usually it's the player who just took a disappointing contract.
Bonner, okay? Well, now we all know how DeWanna Bonner hustled the Indiana Fever last season. She ran off with the bag, was receiving paychecks, and all while refusing to show up to work, okay? And that was a big problem for a lot of people, okay? Myself included. I don't think that was cool at all, okay? Now, she spoke about dating within the WNBA, within being on the same team. You know, obviously her and Alyssa Thomas married, all of this stuff, and everything that's been going on with this Paige Beckers AZ Fudd situation that's been taking over headlines. Let's take a listen to what she had to say about it.
Now we get to DeWanna Bonner addressing the dating teammates situation, and this is where the league's unique dynamics come into focus. She's talking about her relationship with Alyssa Thomas, about how they've made it work for 8 or 9 years playing together, about how it's personal preference, about how everyone handles their relationships differently. But let's address the elephant in the room that no one wants to talk about publicly. The WNBA has a significantly higher percentage of LGBTQ players than any other professional sports league. That's just demographic reality. And with that comes a higher likelihood of teammates dating, of relationships forming within organizations, of personal dynamics affecting professional situations. DeWanna and Alyssa have made it work in Connecticut. They're both established veterans. They're both all-stars. They have defined roles that don't overlap. There's no competition for minutes or shots between them. That's the ideal scenario. But what happens when the relationship is between a starter and a bench player? What happens when one partner is thriving and the other is struggling? What happens when a coach needs to make a tough roster decision that affects both players?
About it.
And you've been there for a lot of players. Lately in the spotlight, teammate relationships has been in the spotlight with AZ Fudd being drafted and Paige Beckers being the wings. Have you ever given advice to younger players about navigating that? And how have you gone about that?
Yeah, no, I feel like my personal relationship is my personal relationship. AT and I've been doing this for a long time, and I feel like we know how to handle things, handle business when it's business, and we how to handle our relationship. Obviously it worked. We've been playing together for 8-9 years now. I just feel like it's personal preference, and whatever that people feel like they need to do in their relationship to keep it going, that's what they do, and we do what we do, so yeah.
You've been a lead.
All right, so she does obviously.
The Paige Beckers and AZ Fudd situation is going to be fascinating to watch. They're going to different teams in the draft. They're going to be competing against each other. And if the rumors about their relationship are true, that adds a layer of complexity that most professional athletes don't have to navigate. But here's what makes this particularly relevant to the Sophie Cunningham conversation we started with. Relationships affect contract negotiations. They affect free agency decisions. They affect whether players are willing to take less money to stay with a team or whether they demand trades to be closer to their partners. We saw it with DeWanna Carrington and Alyssa Smith last season. DeWanna was in Connecticut, Alyssa was in Indiana. DeWanna spent the entire season attacking Caitlin Clark on social media, creating drama, stirring up controversy, and Alyssa was caught in the middle, defending her girlfriend while trying to be a good teammate to Caitlin. That situation was toxic. It affected team chemistry. It affected performance, and it all stemmed from a relationship dynamic that crossed team boundaries. DeWanna says she and Alyssa know how to handle business when it's business and handle their relationship when it's personal. Great, that works for them. But not every couple has that maturity. Not every couple has that separation. And when you're dealing with young players in their early 20s who are still figuring out their professional identity, adding romantic relationships into the mix creates complications that front offices absolutely consider when making personnel decisions. So when DeWanna says it's personal preference and everyone does what works for them, she's technically correct. But she's also glossing over the very real professional consequences that come with dating within the league. Teams do factor this into their evaluations. Coaches do worry about locker room dynamics. General managers do hesitate to put couples on the same roster because of the potential complications. And here's the uncomfortable truth that nobody wants to say out loud. This is one of the factors that affects contract values. If a team thinks you're going to demand a trade in 2 years to be closer to your girlfriend, they're not giving you a long-term max deal. If they think your personal relationship is going to create drama or distraction, they're offering you less money or shorter terms. It's not fair. It's probably not legal, but it happens. Sophie Cunningham got a 1-year deal partly because of her injury, yes, but also because Indiana wanted flexibility. They wanted the option to move on if things don't work out. They wanted to avoid long-term commitments to anyone except their franchise cornerstones. And in a league where personal relationships can complicate team dynamics, where social media drama can spiral out of control, where players are more willing to prioritize personal happiness over team success, front offices are getting more cautious about who they invest in long-term. The new CBA brought more money into the league, but it didn't change the fundamental calculation that teams make when evaluating players. They're still asking, can you play? Will you stay healthy? Will you create problems? And increasingly, that third question includes relationship dynamics, social media behavior, and off-court complications. Sophie Cunningham is finding out that being a solid rotation player isn't enough anymore. You have to be low maintenance. You have to be drama-free. You have to be someone the organization trusts completely. And if there's any doubt, any hesitation, any concern, you get the 1-year deal. You get the prove-it contract. You get told to be grateful you're not Natasha Cloud. So yeah, DeWanna Bonner can say everyone handles relationships differently. She can say it's personal preference. She can say it's worked for her and Alyssa. But the reality is that these dynamics matter. They affect contracts. They affect team construction. They affect who gets paid and who gets left behind. And players who pretend otherwise are either naive or lying. The WNBA is at an inflection point. More money than ever before. More attention than ever before. More pressure than ever before. And with that comes more scrutiny of everything, including how players conduct themselves off the court, who they date, what they post on social media, how they handle adversity. Sophie Cunningham's contract disappointment is a symptom of a larger shift happening in the league. Teams are getting smarter, they're getting more selective, they're demanding more for their investment. And players who thought the rising tide would lift all boats are discovering that some boats get lifted higher than others. The question is whether Sophie uses this as motivation to prove Indiana wrong, or whether this becomes the beginning of the end of her time with the Fever. Based on that 1-year deal and the frustration in her voice, I'm betting on the latter. What do you think? Did Indiana lowball Sophie Cunningham, or is this just the market reality for a 27-year-old coming off a major injury? And should teams factor in relationship dynamics when making contract decisions, or is that crossing a line? Let me know in the comments, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one.